We have the largest diversity of butterflies, a most colorful creature in the world, yet we cannot export them in exchange for the grass we import. Nigeria is truly blessed, but does a good job of keeping us wondering what is wrong here. We're groping in the dark for answers to security, power supply, ethno-religious crisis, infrastructural development, skyrocketing unemployment rates, civil and political unrest, with our citizens having to duck their heads in shame now and then in foreign countries, making us look like a joke to the rest of the world. This show is simply an attempt to shed some light on these issues and hopefully provide solutions to imminent doom. It is not an attack on the government. It is not an attack on any ethnicity. It is not an attack on any individual of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Talk about social responsibility? Let's do this together. From the city of Kaduna, this is Memo. You have a message. It's Memo. It's Memo.
For the past couple of months, the production crew have been working hard to give us the best of this show. Finally, here we are on our first episode of Memo. I am your host, Dan Hausawa. Memo is a weekly talk show from the heart of Kaduna that features a blend of guest appearances from different fields with thought-provoking discussion, artist expression, comedy. They say comedy is a medicine to all souls, so we want you to live and last long to keep watching our show. On this show, we also have fantastic prizes to be won. If only you follow us on our social media platform: Facebook at Memo Connect, Twitter at Memo Connect, Instagram at Memo Connect, Togo at Memo Connect, WhatsApp at Memo Connect. We are full of surprises. So let's see what we have in our memo for today. Mr. Producer, send me the memo.
Safe to say that a youth is between ages 18 to 35. With about 45% of Nigeria's population, the youth have been at the receiving end of poor governance, leading to massive restiveness. Brewing a revolution, the Nigerian youths are awakening to the realization that tomorrow may never come for the proverbial leaders of tomorrow. Taking the bull by the horn, no small thanks to social media, they are determined to be relevant and more involved in the very needed national change, and they refuse to wait for a pat on the back. In today's memo, we have a lawyer, civil rights activist, entertainer, and a philanthropist as our guest. Because of him, there has been a revolution in the Nigerian music scene, especially the rap genre. He founded one of the biggest record labels in Nigeria and is the only entertainment executive without a nickname. He bears his mind on our topic for today's episode, Youths of Nigeria. Don't miss other interesting segments of the show with music, comedy, and a chance to win fantastic prizes. Thank you for tuning in. This is Memo. You have a message. It's Memo. It's Memo.
In case you are just joining us, this is Memo, your #1 variety TV talk show. Today we'll be talking about youth of Nigeria. Since I did someone with a simple primary school, parents listen to your children. We are the leaders of tomorrow. Try and pay our school fees and give us the sound education. They don't pay the school fees. They don't try their best. But up to now, even now I don't marry, I don't get children, but up to now I never be the leader of tomorrow. Today, let's meet our guest for today.
Okay, my name is Audu Maikori. I'm a lawyer entrepreneur. I'm from Kaduna State, Java local government, Dura ward. I'm a very proud Nigerian as well. So a youth is somebody, male or female, who is between the ages of adolescence and maturity, typically between the ages of 18 to 35. Some other countries have it as 18 to 31, but in Nigeria, mostly, once you're above the age of 35, from 36 upwards, you're no longer a youth. You're a young person, but you're not just a youth per se. I have my view about youth empowerment is that it's a cliche that's been used so many times that it's even lost the meaning, you know. And the questions that come to my head when you say the youth need empowerment, the question that comes to my mind is that, am I going to empower you simply because you're a youth? Am I going to empower you because you have value to whatever I'm doing? I'm talking broadly now, beyond just the context of I'm a government and they're people. I'm talking beyond the context that, I'm a company and I need staff. I'm talking about, really, once you talk about youth empowerment, the conversation must be about, it's a two-way conversation. On one part, what can the government do for the youth of Nigeria? So my view about this is that the youth empowerment is a two-way conversation. The first is, what are the youth doing for Nigeria, as opposed to always, what is Nigerian doing for the youth? When you think about the population of Africa, averagely about 19.5 years, 19 and a half years rather. And when you think about what the average leadership age of Africa is, in terms of presidents and stuff, is 62.5 years. Huge disparity in that. And what we're not understanding is that around the world, the youthful population is lacking. Denmark has an old population. In Japan, people are selling more adult diapers than baby diapers. In fact, in America, many countries, many constructions now are putting into cognizance place not for baby playhouses and stuff. It's more for pets, because there aren't that many children being born. The only place in the world that really has that great population, shall I say, the right growth pattern is Africa. So meaning that the wealth that's been created in other countries, there aren't enough young people to consume it or to keep on generating that wealth. While in Africa, where there isn't that much wealth, we have a lot of people. So for me, what it means to me is that the true value, the true power in Africa is the population, that young population. Now, how are we harnessing that youthful power? I think that is where the first part of the conversation comes in, which is, how is government, how are leaders looking at these youth as now being a resource and not a recourse? You know, because many people go back to young people as if, it's a demographic that is highly disadvantaged. The same way you talk about people with disabilities or people who are being ostracized for color or some sort of physical impairment, is how we talk about young people. So you just say, we need to help the youth of Nigeria. It's almost like, God, this is a big burden, we need to help them. It's not a partnership conversation. It's an endowment conversation, and it shouldn't be that. Is that this country will not survive. We've been surviving off these old leaders for many years. These old leaders are going to die. They're all dying off. So who's going to take over? When there's been no process by which we are now onboarding new people who can take over what has been built. So the other flip side of this conversation is saying, do not keep asking what the country does for you. Begin to add the value by yourself. And that's why you find that where there are young people who have actually added value, the country has embraced them. Think about Mark Zuckerberg. He's Jewish, I'm sure. Zuckerberg is a Jewish name. What happened? He sat down in his dormitory, created something that was value-adding, and the world has embraced him. So instead of us doing the wait and see, I'd rather say young people should be trying out stuff. Yes, we're working on government to make sure that they get them more involved. And there's much more, especially this administration can do in terms of getting young people empowered. But while we're doing that, why don't we do something for ourselves? Why don't we get the young people to begin to think of how they can add value, so that we meet at a point where we're negotiating on equal terms and not as if, hey, we're doing you a favor by trying to empower you.
It's a memo.
Viewers, if you are just joining us, This is Memo. I am your host, Dan Hausawa. Connect with us on our social media platform, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, at Memo Connect. We also have interesting segments like Music Talk, Viewers Vote, where you can win fantastic prizes by answering the question of the day. So, let's get back to our guest for today.
Let me say that if we speak as at today, there aren't enough opportunities as at today, now more than before. There never were enough opportunities in the first place, but it's worse now because when a country is going through a recession, people are not ready to spend more money. People are actually kind of conserving their resources. So they're not going to be spending money on more people. This year alone, we've seen over 20,000 people exit the job market in Lagos alone that we know of, that we can keep track of. And what it simply means is that they're not exiting them because they're bad staff. It's that they're too expensive for them to keep paying. So if there are 20,000 people who were in the market that have been removed, and every day we're producing new graduates, we have a whole pile-up of people, and it's getting worse and worse. So are there more opportunities? No. But I'm saying that even the opportunities that are available, we're not maximizing them. So you find that people are now looking for alternatives to those people because within even the talent pool, the qualifications are not, the skills are not there, the orientation is there, it's not there. If you think about, typical Nigerians always say, oh, when we go abroad, it's easier. Everything is easier abroad. But they do not understand that it's easier abroad because some people are working their lives off to make it easy. So when you go and see the typical person who works in a restaurant, who's a driver, who's whatever job they're doing, they're working very hard. But in Nigeria, we think that it's easier there. But they don't understand that it's actually more work there than here. And the quality of work that they put in there makes the country a better country. And the lack of quality you put in this country makes our country what? a worse or worse-ter, if there's a word like that, country than theirs. I just think that we don't have a system. We don't have a political system and a system that ensures sustainability and continuity. And that's always been lacking in everything we've done as Nigerians from when we took over Nigeria till date. People only think about the short term and themselves. I'll give you a simple example. If I run a system, I create a system, it's not possible that I'll always be at the peak of myself as a human being. So it's smart for me to build a system that works regardless of whether I'm there or not. The greatest companies have been grown under that tenet. Look at a company like General Electric, for example. It's been there for 124 years. How many Nigerian companies have been there for 50 years? Because when you get to a point in time, you're only thinking about me, my children, and my family. It's not about the greater good. It's not about the community. So let me extend that to what leadership means. The leadership of Nigeria is too important to leave it to me and my relatives. So I must be developing myself. But when I get a certain age, I must be bringing the next new guys who come in and take over. That's how it works. And I know many people don't agree with this statement I'm about to make, but I think that in the context of Nigeria today, the closest person I've seen to that kind of leader is Bola Tinubu. He's the only person who you can say has developed many other people who have come and they're coming along. And he has been laying it for years. He stopped being governor how many years? His relevance hasn't stopped. But his relevance didn't stop because he became richer or became more influential by some ghost thing. Is that he brought so many people up who are now coming into their own that they keep giving him that kind of push, that relevance. And so I'm saying to the leaders who have been there since 1970 something, who have you developed who come and take over when you die? Because you're going to die. So when you die, the whole country dies with you because just you and your friends want to be in control. When are you handing over? What's the handover process? How does your legacy live when you don't have anybody to make it happen? Remember that when Jesus died, he had 12 disciples. The world came to know about Jesus beyond his work through those disciples who made more disciples, who made more disciples. What is the result? 2,000 years plus after his death, people still talk about Jesus. So that is the problem in Nigerians. They're still, like I said, short term, no vision. So I want to be president today, I want to be governor today. After I'm governor, I don't care what happens. But if you're set in a system that brought in a slew of other leaders and you develop them, then guess what? Your legacy, your dream may not be exactly the way you envisioned it at that time, but you'd have brought in a new crop of people who would bring in a vision that would be relevant at the present time and may be related to your own ideology. So that is one part of the disconnect. The other part of the disconnect is that the young people are growing every day. They're growing older. And as they grow older, we must also recognize that their position and their values have changed. Are we matching up to those positions and values as well? You understand? So it's like this, and if you're a parent and you have kids, you understand the dilemma that you brought somebody up and he used to be like this. And in your mind, when he's 25, he's still that small boy you used to carry. But being real shows you that you can't treat him, you can't give him diapers again. So the leaders in Nigeria now and the adults are still giving people, the youth, diapers, not realizing that they're already having their own children. And unless they're allowed to now become parents and to be respected as men and women, the country is going to be in trouble, because how are we passing on the skills, the lessons that were learned in 1960? Imagine if Obasanjo was doing a mentorship forum on leadership for Nigerians today. Imagine if Muhammad Buhari was doing that. Where would Nigeria have been? They would tell us that in 1960, this is what happened. In 1970, this happened. So be careful about 2025. But all we're arguing now is that they're still arguing among themselves as to how they want to share the pie, which they've been sharing for 40 years. So when they die, what happens to all the people that are between the ages of 50 or 60 and those between the ages of 20? 4 or 5 generations. Chaos.
Yeah, what's up? What's happening? My name is Fowls, aka Fowls, the bad guy. Ladies and gentlemen, they are also calling me the what's up guy, aka the one that escaped from Karisheka, aka the only one person that is a baddest. Ladies and gentlemen, I just want to inform you that you need to place your focus on this place, because right now you are watching my handsome face on Memo right here. Do not change the channel. If you do so, you will be in trouble.
It's Memo. Memo.
Over the past 4 or 5 years, I spent a lot of time not just investing, I've invested in a couple of people's companies as well, young people, trying to see how I can encourage them to start off. I've spent a lot of hours also mentoring and advising people as to what to do in business. But beyond that, I also do a lot of speaking. I travel quite widely, both locally and internationally. I'm just talking to people about the value of enterprise. And when I say enterprise, it sounds cliche again, because everybody says entrepreneurship. The value of entrepreneurship, however, is that every big business we see today was a small business at one time. So we don't know what the next Facebook will be, we don't know what the next Apple company will be, but we want to be able to give them the best advice and the best environment to groom that. And that is the role that I see in terms of how we can impact young people, is to be able to give them the information they need, the advice that they need, and the environment for them to be able to grow their businesses. Because ultimately, if the business adds value to the community beyond just the profit of shareholders, it lasts much longer. But if all you're thinking about is making money, the day you stop making that money, or the day people stop seeing value in what you're doing beyond just the cash, that guy, he likes money too much. That company is just about money. But have you heard some companies that they say, that company, correct company, because they're giving a value more than just cash. And that is my focus, and my role over the next couple of years is also sensitizing young people about their rights and the importance of their roles in the politics of this country. And when I say politics in the country, everybody's mind goes to presidency or governor or senate. I'm talking very basic. I'm talking about ward chairmen. I'm talking about councillors. I'm saying sponsoring, running, getting involved in the process does a lot, because if every local government had one quality school for secondary school, how much better would Nigeria's educational system be? As simple as that. So if that's all a local government can do, make sure that their good schools are running and people are paying their things, you'll see a huge change. And so that's my gospel. My gospel is that the politics of every country is important to the future of that country. It determines everything. So we cannot ignore it and say politics is for bad people or for thieves. You see, it's like the Ojuju, the masquerade stance. So it's how masquerades are evil so that not too many people enter the masquerade. But the masquerades are enjoying some benefits that they don't want you to be part of. So that's how politicians work. No, it's bad, it's dirty, don't go out, don't ever join politics. So if we allow the bad people to be our presidents, governors, and councillors, then what are the good people doing? You know, so that is some of the focus that's some of the things I'm focusing on over the next few years. My memo to Nigerian youth is that the future lies in your hand and it's all about you and not about them. We can complain all we want to, but until the day we get up and do something about it, nothing is going to change. We can keep praying to God, but God answered our prayers 3,000-4,000 years ago, or since the inception of mankind. So it's time for you to take some sort of action. That we can complain all we want. We can say all the bad things we want, but we have no other country but this country. When all is said and done, when this world is divided into different regions, we're all going to come back to Nigeria. So there's no gainsaying, but Nigeria is, all the negative things we're saying about Nigeria are self-fulfilling prophecies. So when we start thinking, talking, acting differently, and I know it's difficult to act differently because of the circumstances around you, but when you think about it, you have no other option. So the best thing is to make the best of a bad situation. And Nigeria is counting on you to take it to the next level, because clearly the older generation have done their bit and their time is past.
If I was a president, yeah. If I was a president, if I was president, I will oppose insurgency, so the world can see how responsible I can be. Cause I'ma take with me what I'm gonna leave behind, an incoming call, and it's for my nigga legacy. We'll make sure no child is begging on the streets. Do what I preach so countries will value my country's currency. Close the junction to any country's bad revelation about mine, so don't ever find road to the genesis of our defeat. Defend the nation from federals by attacking them first. Master the process from predecessor Maikori Herbert. Pray for the best, but I'm still expecting fragments of the worst. So I did carry my gun when I did enter the church. If I be president, then there will be freedom of speech. If you lose your property, it will not be hard to find it. Mention the progress, I am the architect who designed it. Even an astronaut, you feel see I'm they walk up the streets. You step into my villa, partner grab a seat. Feel free to relate with me, I'm your president. Any news on the streets, let me know what is happening, so I can change the ministers who messing up my cabinet. We'll put all the corrupt ones into custody, but reason that is where they are supposed to be. We'll implement projects, my priorities, your conscience. Drive my female citizens crazy without a license. There's a gap between the poor and the rich. Only the elites know this. You the pawns at night, drinking to stupor at bars with bishop necks and argue politics while they are in their castles playing chess with economics.
It's a memo. It's a memo.
Hello everyone, this is the Viewers World segment where we wrap up our show for today and give you the chance to win fantastic prizes. We believe it was an interesting ride with us, listening to our guests for today. This is our memo to you.
Nigerian youths must rise up to the challenge and be a resource and not a recourse, a solution and not the problem. They must ask more what they can do for Nigeria rather than what Nigeria can do for them. They must become so relevant that Nigeria would not breathe easier without them. No one gets anything without fighting for it.
Ladies and gentlemen, fellow Nigerians, we have come to the end of today's show. Did you get the memo? Yes, you should. Catch you on next episode. Same time, same station. I am Dan Hausawa. This is Memo. You have a message. Bye-bye.